My 17 years old daughter, youngest and we had her late, is 7 weeks pregnant. She will be 18 by the time she gives birth. She is not in a relationship with the father. He really, I can't stress this enough, does not want a baby. I honestly don't even think he'll show up for the birth or anything. She has decided to continue with the pregnancy against all advice from practically every adult in her life. After she insisted on not only continuing with the pregnancy but raising the baby, I asked her how she is going to manage that. This was the gist of the convo. I'll get a job. Me. Who's going to watch baby while you're at work? I thought you and dad could. Me, absolutely not, I'm not raising another baby. Pretty much a back and forth for a bit that lead me to believe that if she has this baby in this house, I'm practically going to be its mother. I'm very recently retired and my husband is retiring in exactly 11 months, there's a countdown, and this is not how I want to spend my retirement years. It's not fair to us. So, I told her that she has until baby is born to find a place to live. Husband has always been wrapped around her finger, which normally is endearing. I love how much he loves our children, so he is not fully on board with that, but I feel like we need to be united on this. I just want to know if I'm in the wrong here. Am I the idiot? No idiots here. You can be upset she wants to keep the baby, but that's ultimately not your every other adult in her life's choice to make. I think you're correct that she is assuming you will be more of a caretaker than you'd like to, and maybe isn't thinking things through as a normal teenager. I don't think you're the idiot if you are supportive of her decision without letting her take advantage of you. Perhaps you can help her find some community or government programs that can help you and your future grandchild out. Not the idiot. What she's asking for is infeasible. She's going to get a job while pregnant. Okay, how much time off will she get for the birth? Who will take care of the baby when she's at work? The answer in her mind is you. If she can't find a babysitter, how long will she keep that job? She apparently doesn't want to be a stay-at-home mom or want to go to college, and she wants to keep the baby and be a single mom, and she wants you to raise her child for her. Nobody's needs are being addressed, least of all her soon-to-be child's. There was a post a couple weeks ago or so, the OP's son was in a similar situation, so he woke his son up every 3 hours, fake cried loudly at him, interrupted him playing games constantly, telling him to hold a fake baby, and even simulated dirty diapers, just to drive home what having a baby is really like. I love my 2 little ones, but never having a moment to myself and constantly putting someone else before myself is hard. Your daughter is obviously being immature and irresponsible, and she needs a hard wake-up call. I, 23, was driving with my boyfriend, 24, and his sister, 21, when this incident happened. To clarify, I have taught my mother and brother and all my cousins how to drive, and I'm a really good driver. My boyfriend asked me to pick him and his sister up from their home and drop them somewhere. Their dad had taken the car somewhere and they needed a ride. Places are opening up, so I was in the clear. I have no bad relations with his sister. Things are quite okay between us, but I suspect this will be an issue. Anyway, the moment she got in the car, she suddenly started getting extremely nitpicky. I live in India and honestly, the streets are filled with idiots, so you have to be doubly careful while driving, and this girl was not helping. She kept trying to backseat drive and was giving very incorrect advice. Stuff like, speed up, they'll move out of the way. No they won't, and I'll have to pay fine for speeding and putting people's lives in danger. It's really hard to drive in a semi-crowded street with someone literally trying to backseat drive. At one point, this huge bus came up behind and she literally let out a scream and started hyperventilating. The bus wasn't doing anything, it was maintaining appropriate distance. There was no reason to cause such a massive panic. My boyfriend tried to get her to calm down, but it wasn't working at all. She just kept screaming. It was incredibly tense. I started feeling panicky and at the nearest cut in the road, exit as the Americans call it, I turned and parked the car smoothly. The road ahead was nearly empty. Sister-in-law calmed down immediately, and my boyfriend started yelling at her for inappropriately behaving in the car and potentially causing serious accidents with her stupid behavior. To be clear, sister-in-law has no existing issues with being in the car that my boyfriend knows. Boyfriend and she both can drive, so she knows to not do this crap. Anyway, she started sulking, and I guess I kind of lost it because she wasn't apologizing. So I started the car, but let go of the clutch too quickly, causing the car to lurch without actually moving. Boyfriend and I were wearing seatbelts, so nothing happened, but she lurched forward and hit her head on the back of my seat. The seats are padded. She immediately started yelling again and I said, "This is for being an idiot. If you don't shut up immediately, I'll kick you out of my car. Behave yourself." I was mad then, but felt like an idiot later. Boyfriend fully supports me, but I leave it to your judgment. Firstly, she should have been wearing a seatbelt. Maybe she wouldn't have been so freaked out if she practiced common sense. Secondly, she should never have been backseat driving. She should have accepted this and apologized. Thirdly, you weren't moving. If you had done it in traffic, it would be a different story and you would have been in the wrong. It sounds to me like she doesn't trust your driving skills. However, as I said, she wouldn't have been so freaked out if she had practiced common sense. Everyone's the idiot here. She's obvious idiot for her behavior, and you would have been justified in removing her from your car, somewhere safe, if she didn't put on her seatbelt and be quiet. But there is never a good reason to use a car as a weapon, even for a very minor injury. Cars are dangerous enough when people are operating them safely. She hit her head. You have no way of controlling how hard someone will hit their head when you stop short. You're lucky she didn't injure herself more seriously. I'm not sure where you are, but based on my experience in Delhi, I would agree that driving in India is an adrenaline sport. She was an idiot to panic from the backseat and refuse to wear a seatbelt. You were an idiot to intentionally jerk the car and put her in danger, especially knowing she wasn't wearing a seatbelt. You don't put someone at risk for physical injury because you don't like their behavior. Also, if having a backseat driver throws you that much, you're not as great of a driver as you think you are. My oldest son is 14 and was born with a facial deformity. He is naturally very self-conscious about it, and we've worked extensively with him to boost his self-esteem, but he's still very shy and prefers to be at home. I found a restaurant that has amazing waffles because my older son is crazy about them. So I decided to take our two sons for brunch. My oldest was really excited and didn't even eat a snack before the late brunch so he could eat the massive waffles they serve. And he kept saying how hungry he was the whole ride over. I was really happy that he was excited about going out in public in a long time. So we get there, and he's relaxed, and we don't get stares or anything and it's great. The food looks delicious and we start tucking in. Now, because of his issue, my son does eat in a unique way that can be a tiny bit noisy when he chews. But my younger son, who is 13, decides to say, "God, can you stop slobbering like a pig? It's embarrassing and disgusting." My oldest was absolutely humiliated and said he was actually full and stopped eating, even though he was only 2 bites in. Nothing I said comforted him. I had to stop myself from going off on my youngest because I didn't want to cause more embarrassment. I asked that our food be packed and we drove home in silence. My oldest took his food inside his room and stayed there the rest of the day. I absolutely tore into my younger son. He apologized, but it has affected his brother tremendously. This incident was 2 months ago and even to this day, when we go out, my older son will only order soup because he's now self-conscious of how he eats. He hates soup but refuses to budge. I have decided to not buy my younger son the Nintendo console I told him I was going to buy. I have also restricted his computer time since. This Christmas he will only be getting new clothes for school. My younger son is upset, but I think that's just fair consequences for being mean-spirited. My wife thinks that all this was over the top. I disagree. At 13, you should have compassion, especially for your brother who has very clearly struggled with his self-esteem. And I think this is the right time to teach him a lesson that you can't be so cruel. My parents also think I was too harsh and they want to spoil our sons a bit for Christmas, which I have told them not to. Was I the idiot? You're the idiot. Not for yelling at him or making it clear how he screwed up, but for continuing the punishment simply because your other son is still upset. It's like you're going to punish the younger one until the older one gets over it. The younger one should obviously not have said it, but he's a kid, might be embarrassed himself, and did. Tell him why it was wrong, make him apologize sincerely, maybe also write a letter explaining how he feels now and how he regrets it, but stop with you punishing him because your other kid is still upset. Also get the older one in therapy, for God's sake. You're the idiot for the 2 months long punishment. Your younger son made a stupid and mean comment, something that most kids that age do. He likely didn't even realize the impact of the comment. He commented because he was annoyed and embarrassed without thinking about how his brother may feel. Instead of talking it out, having them go to a joint therapy session, and limiting computer use for a week or two, you are dragging this out as long as possible. It's ridiculous. Go buy your kid his Christmas gifts. And apologize for being the idiot for so long. All you are doing is breeding resentment. Punishing for 2 months and taking away his Christmas is way too much. Not at any point in this entire post do you even mention your younger son's feeling. You're so focused on your older son, you don't seem to care about your other son or how he feels at all. And just so you know, lots of people find it embarrassing to be near people who eat loudly. It draws negative attention from the people around you. And although your older son does have a reason to eat loudly, it doesn't stop the negative attention. Also, for a lot of people, the noise from loud eating can be insufferable. My daughter's birthday was on December 1st, she turned 17. I got her something that I didn't get until my mid-20s, a car. I had my daughter very young, when I was her age, and want her to have all of the opportunity that I didn't. She got her first part-time job, and I wanted her to be able to travel without worrying about the bus or depending on people. I saved for nearly a year to get her a car, a 2008 Nissan Altima. I'm obviously not wealthy, this car is better than my car. It's newer, safer and rides much better. When I gave her the car, she turned her nose up at it. She complained and nearly cried. She pointed out small dings and scratches, she said the color is ugly and that she would be embarrassed to drive it. Besides being angry about this, my feelings are hurt. I put a lot of love into this car. My daughter's mother is now married and they take in foster children. Their current foster is a year older than my daughter, she has been living with them for around 2 years. My ex and her husband are actually going through the process of adopting her. This girl has had it rough, but she's very kind and hardworking. She is doing dual enrollment at the local community college. She takes the bus about an hour each way. I was hoping that my daughter would be able to help give her rides so that the car would benefit both of them. I had the idea to just give the car to the foster daughter. Would I be the idiot for this? My girlfriend says that it would be an idiot move because my daughter would come to her senses and eventually want the car. With how she turned her nose up at it, I would feel better giving it to someone that I know would appreciate it and teach my daughter a lesson in the process. Not the idiot. Your daughter is 17 and that horrible, ungrateful attitude will not get her very far in life. It's better for her to learn that lesson now, from a loving parent, than when she pops off at a boss or a professor and suffers real consequences. That being said, I would definitely consult your ex before giving the car to her foster daughter. The last thing you want to do is stir up competition or bad feelings between your daughter and her sister. If she can't appreciate it, she shouldn't get it. You should keep the Altima for yourself. You can sell your old car, or you can let your daughter earn it. You would be the idiot. This is big escalation in consequences. Don't get me wrong, you're right to be hurt and mad. Your daughter acted like a spoiled brat. However, she is a teenager and they tend to see the short view of things. Somewhere between no consequences and getting rid of the car must be a middle ground where you can teach her without using the nuclear option. Tell her how much she hurt you, that you tried so hard to do something for her and she crapped all over it. Maybe take the keys and start loaning the car to the foster daughter. Stop giving her rides places and say, well, I got you a car, but you didn't want it. Volunteer at a shelter with her for a weekend or two and see if she starts to appreciate what she has. You would be the idiot if you didn't let her have the car. I did the exact same thing at 16 when I got my first car. I was picky and my parents gave me hell for being rude and dismissive. It was a red 24-year-old car with a huge tribute to my dead uncle on the back glass. But instead of being mad and not letting me have the car, he took a weekend and we spent the whole weekend sanding, scraping, buffing and repainting this car. Not only was it a weekend of bonding I'll never forget, but I put love and effort into that damn car and I made it mine. He showed love and understanding. A car is just to get from point A to B, but a first car is something most teens dream about. Because of the divorce of his second wife and the pandemic, my father-in-law had difficulties to find a new home and we offered to take him in. I studied to become a teacher and started very fresh with this job. It's complicated because I have to do everything online, but I love it. I work from home. We have a guest room, but before father-in-law moved in I said to him that I have to work from this room, my desk, books and everything is there, and if that would be a problem, he can stay in the living room. He said it's not a problem. Since the day he moved in the drama begun. He makes comments about how useless my subjects are, history, politics, and philosophy. He was a policeman, but he got a health issue, so he doesn't work anymore. He said the children should learn things that help society and not become dumb philosophers. I tried to explain him what we talk and discuss in these lessons, but he didn't listen. Then he started ranting to my partner, when he is home, how teachers are overpaid because they only have to babysit children and everybody can do that. He as a father saw himself as teacher too, for his sons, and he didn't need a degree or that much money. I'm from Europe, Germany, and yes, I'm happy with the pay, but it's not like it makes me rich. My partner said to him that is not true and ended the discussion. And he came in the guest room while I had a Zoom meeting in the morning with a beer in his hands and only a shirt and boxer shorts. I was super angry and disappointed. I talked to him later about this and said that it makes a false impression for my students. He disagreed and said it's his room. We discussed it for hours, but it was wasted time. I often drive to my students to bring them a copy from the stuff we do if they don't have accesses to the internet or no way to print it. My father-in-law said that I'm overdoing because he's here and that teachers are lazy and have too much free time. I tried to tell him politely how much work teachers who love their job have, but he didn't listen. Next day when I left the room for 2 minutes to get something for the Zoom meeting, he went in the guest room and chatted with my students. They were all really uncomfortable about my subjects and how useless they are. I had enough. I said to him that I get he's on a low point in his life, but this was one step too far. He said, if you can't master your own father-in-law, how would you master 25 kids? And I said to him that I don't need to master adults. I told him to leave, and when my partner came back he stood by my decision. When my father-in-law was away he told me he found me too harsh and that it's kind of an idiot move to kick him out because he makes bad jokes about my job. His younger brothers called us later, hearing the story from their dad, and told us we will never be invited again in their households after we proved that family isn't important to us. Not the idiot. You took him in and offered help when he was in a bad spot during a pandemic even. He should have the basic decency and respect to not talk bad about your career or students, especially not to the students. I'm really casual, but walking in on a class in boxers and t-shirt and with a beer is not a good look and it does send a bad impression. You've done more than you even needed to do for him and tolerated a lot of disrespect from him as well. Stand firm by your decision and hug your partner tight as they seem to stand by you and support you, and that's worth more than a career that will make you rich. Getting to sleep in your office is all he could ask for. During the day he has to find something else somewhere else to do because you are a working professional while he is not. He agreed to that, but instead of being thankful for that, he goes back on the agreement, harasses you and sabotages your work. Screw that, and screw the younger brothers as well. He either lied to them about what went down, or they are just as entitled and ignorant as he is, and you're better off without these fools.